Parents riled up after Seattle Public Schools shut down its gifted and talented program because of complaints that it was not inclusive enough. And D.C.'s mayor wants to hold parents accountable for their child's school attendance and even unveils a bill to address the chronic absentee problem. Joining us now to discuss this and more is Parents Defending Education's investigative fellow, Alex Nestor. Good morning to you, Alex. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Happy Friday. Seattle Public Schools right now really trying to answer a lot of tough questions after it dismantled its gifted and talented program and replaced it with a, quote, equitable and culturally sensitive program. What led to this, and what is this new program they have?
So what led to this is Seattle Public School leaders essentially looked at the number of kids in this program based on their race. They broke down a group of kids based on their race, and they said that they didn't like the number of white and Asian students participating in the program. And instead of providing kids with the opportunity on the front end to go to tutoring services or, with other programs to get kids meeting the benchmarks and the bars that they need to get into the program, they decided to shut it down. And this is part of a much broader war on merit that we are seeing in schools across the country, whether it's eliminating gifted and talented programs, eliminating standardized tests. And look, when you take away these bars and these opportunities, that hurts all students.
And also, too, when you replace something like this with something that you consider equitable, at some point you have to define what that means. What is the metric for this, and who's making those decisions?
Equity is inherently subjective. It separates people based on race and assigns needs, in this case to students, based on their race. And we know that when you switch to this sort of a subjective measure, instead of actually looking at test scores, at benchmarks, you're not helping any kid. You're taking away a really important rung in the ladder for kids to succeed and make it to the next level. And so it is really, frustrating for all parents to see this program eliminated and replaced with something that's based on, something so subjective like equity. It hurts all students. And
now we want to go from the West Coast to the East Coast and to Washington, D.C., where the public school system has one of the highest truancy and absenteeism rates in the country. And now the mayor in D.C. wants to address it with legislation. So tell us about the bill that she's introduced.
Yeah, so as of last year, about 60% of DC high schoolers were chronically absent, about 43% of DC students overall. So what this bill would do is punish kids more harshly for being out of school. It would also punish kids more harshly for gun crimes. It would also establish alternative education learning centers for kids with behavioral issues. And my question here is, why hasn't the DC City Council expected the behavior that they're seeing? The behavior that we are seeing from teenagers in Washington, D.C. is a direct result of policies, of laws that do not punish kids for crimes. I mean, let's remember just a few years back when two teenagers killed a man in an attempted carjacking. Those kids will get out of jail right when they turn 21. So I'm not quite sure if this bill is going to walk all of that back. The D.C. City Council and the mayor shouldn't be surprised by the behavior that they've incentivized for years.
Also comes on the heels of last week's arrest of 3 girls, the youngest 12 years old, accused of beating a man to death. Truancy is a serious problem in D.C. Is the district doing enough to address and solve this issue? Why isn't the mayor also doing something to hold D.C. schools accountable?
So look, you'll have different groups blaming different parts of, the problem here. But what's happened is there's a breakdown between truancy equals consequences. And I think in part it's because teachers, schools are being asked to do so much in terms of paperwork in this case. Teachers right now overall in all schools, and DC included, are being asked to be emotional and behavioral counselors, in addition to truancy officers, in addition to trying to teach the class of 30 kids. And look, I think this is an issue where parental rights equal parental responsibilities. Those rights need to be met with parents working with schools to get their kids in the classroom, because fundamentally, discipline, truancy, absenteeism. Those are things that need to be addressed in the home. Parents need to get their kids to school. So I think parents and schools together really need to partner to get kids in class and learning.
Parents Defending Education's investigative fellow, Alex Nestor, thank you for joining us this morning here on the National Desk.
Thanks for having me.